Okay, so cats have evolved as solitary hunters, so they need to be good at hunting to be able to survive. So they can't rely on other cats making their kills and sharing. They don't do any of that like lions would do. Like, you could afford to have one that's not as good as the rest because there's enough to go around when they're hunting all together. But for a cat, if they can't do it, then they don't eat. That's the end of it. So there, like I said earlier, there are no, as far as I know, feral cats that are obese because they just wouldn't be able to do the hunting to be able to survive. So a significant amount of their energy is spent on hunting. They are naturally hunt 6 to 8 hours a day. This is if they're out there hunting to survive, so not to do with our pet cats that are just out there hunting. It's when they need to sustain themselves by hunting. They may make between 100 and 150 attempts at catching something, and only 10% will be successful. So they can't afford to not be good at hunting. They need to be able to do it, and they can't afford for their hunger levels to get too high, because then they wouldn't have the energy to do the hunting. So they have to have this exactly right. They have to be able to have the energy to hunt the animals, and it's a delicate balance between energy expenditure and food intake. So they're biologically prepared for expending a significant amount of energy for their calorific reward. So they're supposed to use a lot of energy eating, is what I'm trying to get at. And the sequence of hunting behaviour, so the behaviours they show in that sort of special sequence, helps us understand how they would naturally expend energy too. So we'll talk about this in more detail later, but the cat wheels, if you've seen the exercise wheels, all they're doing is just running. So that's one part of the sequence. They're not doing anything else. There's no stalking, there's no catching. All the behaviours they would perform when they're normally expending their energy, we need to encourage all of it rather than just one particular bit. So when we are thinking about how to increase their activity and how to feed, we need to think about how they're doing it naturally. So when they're catching and consuming the prey, that reinforces the behaviour of hunting, like it's worth doing, because eventually you will get something. And that's not replicated at home. When they're playing, normally they don't get rewarded by food, unless that's what the owners are specifically setting up, which is a good idea. But generally the behaviour of play is fun. So you should hope, especially younger cats, they will enjoy the process of pretending to hunt, the playtime, even though it's not going to be rewarded with a physical catch at the end. Right, I'm going to try and stop this before the end because it does catch the rat, and I thought it wouldn't be nice for me to just let you watch that. But the idea of this video is just to watch the cat and just to watch his behaviour right up until the end. Just hover over the pause button. And like, look how focused he is, and like, you wouldn't get that behaviour normally. They're not going to do this unless they're hunting or they've got something to catch. And there's such a long build up, which I just love. Because when we're playing with cats as well, we don't encourage this build up. We don't let them do it for this long. We don't sort of make it hard. We just wave the feather around and then they just paw at it. But I'd love just so you can see all his muscles, and okay, I might just stop it here. But so what happens from here is that he just flies at it and then catches it and then runs off with it in his mouth. But I won't include that on recording. But it was just a sort of highlight that it's not just catching something, it's not just pawing at something or biting something. There's a whole sequence to consider, and sometimes it's that first bit, the stalking. They might only be watching, they might not even be doing the crawling, it might just be watching, but that's still part of it. So when we're playing, it's important to consider that and encourage that as much as possible. But also, what are they missing when they're just eating from a bowl? There's a whole build up that they're not getting there, and it's not as satisfying really for them.